What's going on, everybody? Welcome back. Third episode of Surf Tip Saturday. Now, Surf Tip Saturdays, if you know, you put your questions in the comments below and we will answer them every week. So in this week's comments, you put your question. Next week, we will answer them if we like your question. And remember, there's no such thing as a dumb question, only dumb people. Okay, moving on. So this is an actual question. We're not just plugging this, but from...
well, let's make a little announcement.
Oh, the announcement, that's right. So we did the surf contest, the local event in Santa Teresa here this weekend. Had an awesome weekend. Keely brought home 2 first places. Lorenzo brought home a first place. I had a second place. Anyways, there's a great video we made of the whole weekend. Shows the whole contest scene, the heats, the awards, lots of fun stuff. And you can check it out in the link here, or there, or wherever we put the link. So check it out to the video. So it's the local contest, the one where we're like, yeah.
Yes, and we have another contest, national, coming up in a couple of days, which will be up on the channel in about 3 or 4, a week. We'll say a week.
Yeah, it's going to be a lot of footage to go through. So look for 2 or 3 videos from the traveling, everything from over the Caribbean side. So, good to get started?
All right, let's start with our questions.
So from Brian Ruley on last week's video, actually, he asked, where can I get one of those Shaka Surf Camp shirts? These things?
As you can see.
You mean one of these things? These awesome things?
Show them the back of Tua. So these are the Team Rider shirts, but we have the Wave Rider. Anyways, to answer your question, a few people have actually asked us this in the past, and after you asked the question, I decided to make them available online. So the only place you can get these right now is online at this link that we're going to put in the description. And basically it's the exact same t-shirt that you see here. They're very good quality. It's like a silk screen, and it's going to basically look like this. We're going to have hats, which are super dope looking. There's going to be some stuff for girls, like, what do you call those?
Tank tops?
Booties? Booty
shorts?
Oh,
booty shorts.
Booty shorts. If Megan was here, we would show you hers. Tank tops. Basically,
you don't have yours on right now?
No, I don't have mine on right now. And that's it. We're gonna have it available. So check the description, and any money that we make, which isn't much, is basically gonna go towards helping sponsor our kids. So get get part of Team Shaka.
You can also order t-shirts with my face on them.
Really? I don't know.
I'm gonna make that available. I'm gonna make a shirt. Anyways, all right.
Next question.
So Daniel, you asked a question last week. We couldn't answer because you weren't specific enough, but here we go. I'm a beginner who just bought a new board. What fins do you recommend me? Well, that's all the information we got, so we got a little more info from you. You said you're about 5'6" and about 135, 140 pounds. Now, to answer your question specifically, you said you bought like a 6'3". I would say don't worry about the fins. You said you're just a beginner. If you have 3 fins, they're all the same size. You said you surf in the Playa Hermosa and Jaco area, so maybe a little faster wave. You want to have enough fins so that you're not sliding out, but if you're just a beginner, don't worry about the fins. Fins make a huge difference on surfboards, but until you're more advanced, you would never know the difference if I changed out your fins. So for any beginner who's looking for advice on fins, because there's so many different opinions and so many different style fins, it can really change the way a board rides. I've really only have like 2 sets of fins that I've ever put in my board and been like, wow, that made a huge difference. So until you get really more advanced, you're not going to really notice much difference in fins. I know that if you go to fcs.com or futures.com, they give descriptions, they describe exactly the kind of turns and things like that.
Did you say size?
164 centimeters. So I'm thinking that's like 5'6", 5'7", and 64 kilograms.
Oh, okay, yeah.
So it's about my size. So I would say, you know, like a medium-sized fin, and again, when you go to purchase fins from the nicer companies, but for now, it's, you know, a good set of fins is going to run you $100, and I don't think that it's super important at this point.
They look cool. I mean, they look cool. I actually have expensive fins, 2 sets of them, and I use the cheapest ones on my board right now just because I think it seems to work the best, and that's the stock fins that the board came with. So.
And one thing that's awesome, I know that there's a shop back home, Core Surf, back in Florida, that'll do this. I'm sure there's some local places that if you bought a set of fins, if you didn't like them and they're in good shape, you would, you know, you wouldn't get your full money back, but you could bring them back in and trade out, or even trade out an old set of fins as a deposit on a new set. So you get to try different fins on different boards. So maybe ask your local shop and see if they'll do anything like that. So
I'll give you guys a little tip though. If you weigh more than 180 pounds plus, use Futures. I use Futures. My FCS fins just punch out constantly. I break them out. Sounds like your weight, though, no problem. Wouldn't matter if you use future FCS. I know the new FCS models are a little stronger, they're supposed to be, but I haven't had a whole lot of luck with them.
All right, next question. Christopher 5SD. How do you duck dive larger waves without getting caught in the turbulence? Tua, you like to get pounded by waves. Why don't you tell us how you duck dive without getting rocked?
Yeah, I think it matters you make sure that your timing's good when you push the board down and when you push your knee. Because if the wave's a little bigger and your timing isn't right, then you're probably going to get pounded. And sometimes if the wave's too big, then you're just going to get pounded anyways.
And we actually have a duck dive video that shows the mechanics, so you want to make sure your mechanics are right, getting underneath. Yeah, he's right. If it's shallow water or it's just a big wave and you're right there and the wave's breaking right in front of you, guess what? You're gonna get worked anyways. But yeah, really the timing's super.
Timing. I mean,
super
we've all seen it where you're next to somebody and you go and you duck dive, and then you come up and one guy's way back here and the other guy's way in front. Sometimes just the slightest timing can make the huge world of a difference.
So if you do it too late, then your butt's still up in the air when the wave hits you, and it's super funny when you see it happen to somebody else. But that's probably really common, because then they get kind of skipped back. And if you kind of go too early, or you start coming back up under the wave too early, and the wave hasn't passed over you, that's when I get it the worst. Is I come back up and the turbulence of the wave grabs me, and it just flips me up every different direction. So definitely the
and
timing.
Sometimes there's just nothing you can do. Some waves are just gonna basically hand it to you no matter how good your duck dive is. So it just happens.
So take your medicine like a man, is what we're saying. There's nothing you can do about it. You're gonna get worked. All right. So anybody want dogs? Dogs are up for adoption. All right, from Sweeto12. How far forward should my front foot be after I pop up? And he described his height, weight, and the kind of board he uses, kind of like an egg-shaped board. And we have a couple boards here. So this is kind of an example of maybe the board he was talking about. It's an egg-shaped board. I don't know how much we can get in the frame here. But if you look at this short board here, oops, sorry, stick in your face. Okay, we can kind of see where the wax is rubbed off. So the kick pad's back over here. That's where our back foot's going to be. And really with the front foot, we want our stance to be shoulder width or a little bit wider. So depending on your height, that kind of sets your stance, how long your legs are. So if you're a taller person, you're going to have a wider stance. So if my back foot was back here on the tail, my front foot might be way up here, maybe 65% of the way up the board if I'm a taller person. Whereas this one's ridden by a little shorter person, you can see that the shoulder width makes it a little more towards the center of the board. So you want to grab the other board too?
Definitely a good rule of thumb is wherever the widest part of the board is, you're usually going to be there or forward more. Usually you won't be behind the widest part, so if this is the widest part of the board, say right around here, you definitely don't want your front foot here. That's way too narrow back.
And I guess if you're not popping up and your front foot's not getting where you want to be, I mean, I would say put your short board down next to you. You don't want to pop up on your short board on land because it'll mess it up, but maybe put it next to you and then practice your pop up and try and get your back foot back here over the fins and your front foot in the center of the board or
slightly
even a little further up, and make sure it's in the widest part of the board, because that typically the center of the board, the widest part of the board is the way most of these short boards are designed, is that's where your front foot's going to be. So you can actually see, this is Team Rider Lorenzo's, his board. He's got a little wider stance. You can see where his heel is always back here, or I'm sorry, up here in the board, and it's a little bit in front of the widest part of the board. But really important just to have a shoulder width stance, because sometimes my back foot's a little further up, so then my front foot's going to be a little further up, or my back foot's a little further back. Front foot's going to be a little further back.
Yep.
So, all right, Mr. John Shaw, how do you surf well in small waves on a short board?
Well, I would say we break it down into three things. First thing is paddling. You got to be able to paddle really well, and a lot of people make the mistake of not paddling hard enough on small waves as they would for bigger waves. So you want to paddle with everything you got, and then you want to make sure, this is what I have to do, especially for a bigger person, is when you've caught the wave, make sure you paddle one or two extra paddles in the direction that you want to go. So you're almost basically paddling down the line a little bit. So that's the paddling part. Make sure you can watch our paddling videos.
And
the
also,
part
like,
is,
the paddling too, like, you want to get in as close to the peak as possible. I mean, in small waves, if you're catching it after it's broken and over on the shoulder, you're missing, you know, that first powerful part of the wave. So you want to be, you know, positioned as deep on the wave and on the peak as possible so you can generate speed, because that's kind of the next part about surfing small waves, is that's what makes it hard, is because we go slow and we can't generate speed. We actually have a great video. We actually have a full video course on our website on surfcoaches.com. If you plug in your email, you get all 5 videos for free, ranging from all different topics. But one of them, speed generation. It's a really, really great video. We break down how to generate speed, but it's also about, you know, using certain parts of the wave. And you know, you're not going to do you don't want to do maneuvers on your shortboard on small waves that you would do on a bigger wave. For example, you're not going to do usually some big arcing cutback on a small wave on a shortboard and expect to continue to go down the line. We're usually doing shorter turns, you know, using parts of the wave as they build up in front of us.
You're
and not
kind of waffling.
I'm waffling.
You're waffling.
Sorry. I want you to take
You
over.
got to get to the 3 points.
Okay.
So the paddling, this is for beginners.
Okay.
You're talking about like more advanced surfers.
I don't know. John might be
There's
advanced surfer.
paddling.
I don't know, John.
Well, most of the people are beginners. Paddling, surfboards. Pick the right surfboard, right?
Yeah. The board we showed before is a good smaller board, but typically, like if you only have one surfboard and you're gonna be surfing mostly smaller waves, you're gonna ride it like a little thicker, a little wider.
So you want a board that's designed for small waves. If you have a wave that doesn't have enough volume for your weight, you're gonna struggle. And if it's not made for smaller waves, you're also gonna struggle unless you have a really high level of skill. And then of course, speed generation, as Brent was talking about, is the third component to surfing small waves well.
So, yeah.
Which he said you can get that video of speed generation.
Go ride a longboard.
We could go on and on. It's true. Like picking the wrong maneuvers will definitely slow you down.
But yeah, guys, hope that answered your questions. We didn't have a whole lot of questions this week. I don't know why. Maybe you guys don't like us, maybe you don't like our answers. But please keep coming with the comments or the questions below. Subscribe to the channel every week.
Thumbs
more and
up.
more surf tips.
Send them over here.
There, guys.
We're still collecting thumbs up.
So we will see you guys in the next video.